A new Star Wars journey begins in the place all good journeys begin. At, well, the beginning. This Star Wars Day, I'm excited to introduce the new Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast, where we will piece together the complete story of that galaxy far, far away in timeline order, from the dawn of the Jedi through the great unknown following the sequel trilogy. This is a podcast for both Star Wars superfans and complete newbies. Listen to the short intro episode now to hear how it works and what to expect over the coming weeks as we set the stage for the new television series The Acolyte, which we will be covering with weekly breakdowns. Subscribe to the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast wherever you listen to take part in one of the most epic and expansive stories ever told, following all the twists and turns from start to finish. May the 4th be with you all month and beyond.
Welcome to the Lorehounds Play, where the Lorehounds your guides to pixel-based adventures. I'm John.
I'm Brandon, and this is our 7th The Lorehounds Play podcast, this time for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
In this episode, we'll be breaking down the characters, plot, and gameplay of Square Enix's second entry into a trilogy of games retelling the story from just one game, Final Fantasy VII.
Before we get started, quick reminder that you can send feedback to lhp@thelorehounds.com or leave us a voicemail at thelorehounds.com/contact, and we'll get those questions in the next episode.
If you're enjoying our coverage of video games or any of the shows we're covering and you'd like to support us directly, head over to patreon.com/thelorehounds or go to the Supercast link in the show notes and subscribe today for early and ad-free access to every episode, as well as bonus content like Second Breakfast, Shireside Chats, and the new 11sies that we're starting. Now, Brandon, you are back. We are back. Let me repeat the refrain on this podcast. It's been a while.
It certainly has. This seems to be like the podcast for when we can actually fit it into our life, which, it makes a lot of sense because gaming as a grown-ass adult is kind of that way too. Mm-hmm. So I think it kind of fits the theme.
I maybe this podcast should be renamed Two Dads Game. Just when we can. I think there is no regular podcast schedule. Our lives are just chaos.
I think an alternate name for a Lorehounds run of a video game is also a Tired Dad's run.
Yeah, that's right.
It's sort of synonymous.
That's right. I did play this entire game almost on easy, so I can relate.
Hell yeah.
I can relate. All right, so we've been playing around with the format. I think we're going to be doing, again, gaming news, like gaming news, what we've been playing, background on the game, a spoiler-free rating, 1 to 3, which is now red light, yellow light, green light, and then a spoiler review. So we are still in spoiler-free territory on Rebirth, so don't worry. Why don't we head into quickly what we've been playing? Have you been playing anything besides Final Fantasy, Brandon?
Nothing outside of the usual. I've been dabbling in my Fortnite, and I've been playing some of the Bungie backed into a corner Destiny, which has been fun. But other than Rebirth, just dipping in every time I get the chance to just chip away at that 100%. No,
nice.
That's it.
Nice. For me,
I've just
been Vampire Surviving. I've just been. They put it out a new DLC. They have new weapons, and a few new levels. So I've been playing that. Other than that, I barely started a new save of Ghost of Tsushima because I want to finally play it through. And I streamed it for a few minutes the other night. You can follow us on Twitch too if you look us up. And then I just fell off it because I'm a tired gamer dad.
Yeah, huge shame of mine is that I got about 2 hours both into Ghost of Tsushima and a Red Dead 2. And I was just so overwhelmed by the size of game that I was like, I'm just going to put this on the shelf and wait until I have time. Because with video games, for the most part, the longer you wait, the better off you are. I just wish I would have waited to pay later because I could have gotten them on sale instead of buying them brand new.
Yeah, I think Ghost of Tsushima should definitely be on our list of upcoming games because it is really good. It's really, really good story.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty great story and just visually breathtaking. And that's just on PS5. I'm sure on PC it's going to look like, chef's kiss.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into some gaming news. We had a sad month of gaming where we had a bunch of closures at Bethesda. Tango GameWorks was especially sad after they had this hit Hi-Fi Rush last year, which was a smaller experience, which is what a lot of us, especially us tired gaming dads, want, right? Like we want these bite-sized experiences that are fun and nice. I don't know if you played Hi-Fi Rush.
I didn't, but it's something that was definitely on the list. I mean, the concept of the game is cool, and like visually, it's like stunning. And I had a lot of fun watching people really dig that as it was stealth dropped into that Xbox showcase.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty rad game, and it sounds like Microsoft wanted smaller rad games to add to their repertoire of games, and then they're like, well, guess not. Not after this meeting, anyway. Goodbye.
It does seem that there's more scrutiny on the Xbox budget since the Activision purchase. Like it seems like Xbox leadership wanted small games and Microsoft leadership said, no, go make another Starfield.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty mixed bag. Microsoft seems to have infinite money since they're like, they're part of the like infrastructure to like human life at this point. So they pretty much do have infinite money, but I am sure that they did not like that several $billion dent into their pocket from getting Activision Blizzard. So
several billion. Like, it was 70 something billion.
Yeah. So they're probably just like tightening up the purse strings for a while until everyone hates them. And then they'll be Bungie backed into a corner and maybe hopefully shower the money in games wherever they need them. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm pretty pessimistic about the industry as of right now, just because with all of the studio closures and all that, pretty shitty time to be making games right now. It seems like, unless you're an executive, because they are making bank.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's the bummer, is that the people who make the games are never really the ones who suffer layoffs. I'm sorry, are the ones who always suffer layoffs, whereas the executives who make the decision. Yeah. But that's the whole. Yeah, like you said, it's just the whole system. It's not just gaming. It's just that we are on a gaming podcast, so that's what we're talking about.
Those assholes on that pizza in the sky above us, blocking out the sun. That rotten pizza. If I am going to make a Final Fantasy VII,
I was very confused by what you were saying.
Rebirth, or sorry, remake. And in the original, that's what they called the pizza on top of Midgar. Where all the higher ups of Shinra live. Anyway,
okay, gotcha.
You can cut that if you want.
Deep cut. No, leave it in. All
right, good.
Okay, so on a happier note, also on the Xbox side and PC side, Hellblade 2 got released. Have you tried that out at all?
I have not, but I haven't played the first one, and I believe it's like a 20-hour all-told experience if you wanted to play both. So that's something I'm wanting to do on like a vacation or something, just run through the whole ass thing. And I think it's visual and cinematic enough that my wife would enjoy experiencing it with me. So
you got to do headphones.
Really?
Got to do headphones. Yes. So a big part of the game is, are these supernatural things really happening, or is this psychosis? So there's a lot of like voices and whispering in your ears. And it's
another Final Fantasy VII tie.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That might be worth it then. I'll just tell her to sit there and watch with headphones.
Slap some headphones on her.
Yeah, that'll work. We'll double it up.
I've actually watched my wife play this, but I have not played it. So I think I'm going to try to do both, like you're suggesting.
It seems like a great way to do it, because I think it's a congruous, like you can jet through the whole thing. But what has she said about it? Has she enjoyed it?
Well, she hasn't played the second one yet. She's just played the first one. Yeah, I think she's gonna play the second one soon. I installed it on the Xbox. I'm like the tech master in this house. Like if something needs to get done tech wise, it's just my job.
Sure.
And so I installed everything. I charged up the headphones. I set it all up nicely. I think she's just been a little tired lately, as we all are.
Speaking of which, I booted up the Xbox today to put Cocomelon or some shit on the TV for my Miss Rachel is what my 2-year-old or almost 2-year-old is into
we love
right
Miss
now.
Rachel.
Miss Rachel's great. She's wonderful. She's the best babysitter you could ask for. But the not to sell her short, Hellblade 2 prompted whenever I started the Xbox up, the living room Xbox. I started that up, and it was like, hey, you want to download Hellblade 2 right now? Or you could buy it if you want, or you could tell us to go away. So it's like the Xbox opened with a prompt for me to play Hellblade 2, which I thought was pretty interesting. Pretty all right. I'm cool with that kind of like in your face
for a big
advertisement.
release.
Yeah, I think
as long as it's not like every day I have a new pop up. Like I think for big releases that's fine, especially with something that's free with your subscription.
Absolutely, yeah. It said first option was download with Game Pass. Second option, buy it if you want to throw these people money.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely,
cool.
I think it's a pretty cool way to do that.
Cool. And then I just want to shout out to, I guess the PS5 Pro is probably coming this fall, and then the Switch 2 early next year, it sounds like.
Seems like early next year for the Switch 2. I haven't seen too many people super jazzed for the PS5 Pro yet.
Me either.
I mean, it seems like, we're barely getting, we're scratching the surface of what the PlayStation 5 right now can do.
Agreed.
In a lot of games, but like, and I'll say right now in Rebirth, we're actually like sort of bumping up against what it's capable of as a console right now. But it doesn't seem that way for most games. Rebirth is just a gigantic game.
I don't even know if that's I don't know if that's the console or if that's the developers, because I do think that there's an argument that it should not look that way in performance mode. Right. I mean, you look at and it's different because Senua's, the Hellblade 2 is a different kind of game and there's less gameplay involved, so you can use a little bit more resources on the visuals. But man, there is a big difference.
I believe difference. It. We can get into some visual stuff with Rebirth later because there's some like specifics, but yeah, with the giant games with perhaps lots and lots of assets and like quickly loading giant areas of maps and stuff, that's where we're bumping into some issues with the consoles, which, it's going to happen. Switch 2 can't come quick enough because I don't even like picking up my Switch anymore because it's just garbage. Just so old and clunky. And like, if I'm so spoiled that if I don't get it 60 FPS on, on anything right now, I can't do it, man. I'm just my eyes are spoiled.
I'm a Steam Deck stan, I'll say that, and that's often not 60 FPS, but I also don't play like modern AAA games on it. I'll do indies, I'll do older games, so I just think it's not really for that, which is fine, like this
seems like Steam Deck bread and butter is those kinds of games.
Yeah, like Vampire Survivors is amazing on that, because I could just sit there and collect all my weapons. Are you a Vampire Survivors guy?
No, but I've seen a lot of coverage for it. It seems like a game that would be perfect for the Steam Deck.
It is.
I'm definitely going to pick it up one day.
Yeah, it's great for like one kid's napping and the other's watching a movie to stay quiet, and I just want to do something with my hands for a little bit. Vampire Survivors on the Steam Deck.
Heck yeah.
Yep. All right.
I was going to say something about 45 FPS seems to be like the way to go. Because a lot of people have been doing that like sort of halfway point, and it something about the refresh rate 45 FPS feels nice on your eyes. And honestly, on Destiny 2 on PC, I was pretty much on my last machine. That's what I was playing it at, because I still cranked everything up to max, and I was getting pretty like a rock solid 45, like nice. Without it moving, and I had a great time with that. So, and that was on a PC. So like, if you could like get that on the Steam Deck or something like that, or even Switch 2, like give me 45 and I'm happy. I just can't do 30 anymore.
Yeah, you can play around with the settings. That's the nice thing about it being a bit tiny PC, is that you can play around with the settings and do a lot of nonsense with it.
Tinkering.
Indeed. So let's talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. No spoilers yet, but give me your overall impression, including your rating. Is this a red light, do not play? Is this a yellow light? Would recommend if you like this kind of game? or is it a green light? Everyone in gaming should play this forever.
Okay, so we're gonna do red light is summon materia, yellow light is gonna be support materia, and green light is magic materia.
Got it.
It's gonna be a green light. It's
Mhm.
I will say across the board a green light.
Okay.
If you have played if you've played Rebirth or Remake, just keep playing because this is more and better of that. If you haven't, it gives you like a little way to catch up. And honestly, like going back now would maybe make Remake feel a little bit like a tech demo for this game. Which is it's a more linear game. It's a different experience, but this is just such a grand thing, and there is so much game here. Like, I've never played so many mini games in one game. There's so much to do. It is a visual spectacle. Yes, gonna be a green. Without getting into a lot more details, I love it. I absolutely love this game.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your rating?
I'm a green too. It's funny because I think that at least for the first at least 20 or 30 episodes of this podcast, it's almost always going to be a green because they're games that we picked out because we like them so much.
Yeah, it's true.
But I mean,
I was not a green. The only one that I could think of that I was not a green was the Star Wars game. I can't even remember it with Cal Kestis. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
I guess if it's something that we've already played and we've chosen to cover it, it's probably going to be a green. If it's something that we agree to play coming up, like I think we should do BioShock still because that's like a quick playthrough
for sure.
I think that one, you could have some variants. But yeah, this I think the biggest critique I've heard of this game is the amount of mini games that feel mandatory. I don't agree with that criticism. I never felt like I was forced to do mini games. I did play a lot of them because I wanted to. And when I was forced to play a mini game, it really wasn't very long and that egregious. So I don't understand the criticism with that. My biggest criticism with the game is that the visuals in performance mode do not look great, but visuals in fidelity mode look great. And honestly, the gameplay and the story make up for it. The voice acting in this is absolutely amazing. The music is amazing. It's even more varied than the last one. The story is captivating and heartbreaking and beautiful, and I just can't wait for the third one. Like I even started the original Final Fantasy after finishing this, and then I didn't get past getting my first chocobo and getting annoyed about that.
Yeah. I definitely echo all of those sentiments. The music is just so killer in this one, and the way they implement it in the open world is really great too. And there's two themes for everything. Like there's in the open world, there's the battle version, and then there's the just walking around version of music, and it all is so seamlessly done. I love it. And yeah, the voice acting, they absolutely crush it again. Like they did such a good job casting these people, and the expanded cast that we've gotten in this one is great too. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of praise coming out of me. I will have some criticisms once we get into the spoiler section. The mini games, I will say, I did engage with a lot of mini game, and I don't think very many of them are mandatory. A lot of them are like story moments that you have to do something, and you just have to like get bare minimum.
Right.
It's showing you that they exist, and then they're like, "Hey, did you like this minigame? Well, how would you like to ruin your life trying to get a perfect score?"
And Queen's Blood absolutely wrecked my life for a little while. I had to stop myself because I was getting so angry at it.
I'm not a card game person at all. Like I didn't even fall for like the beloved ones, like your Gwents and your Triple Triad. I didn't care for any of those. But if you put Queen's Blood on my phone, I would play a bunch of Queen's Blood. I think they really crushed it with that game. And then like you can follow like a chain of events for Queen's Blood in the actual game. It's great.
Right. They did a really good job making the mini games feel like they mostly mattered.
Yes, they rewarded you for going all the way, but you didn't have to do it,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is the perfect way to do a mini game. It's like,
Right.
hey, here's this dolphin you ride on. It's not really a spoiler. Here's this dolphin. If you want to really crush riding dolphins, you can keep doing that. But if not, let's go head on to Junon.
Right.
So yeah, I think the mini games are implemented pretty well, and I can see if you do take the step to ruin your life trying to best all of the mini games, then the mini games would be too much.
I mean,
And
but
by
that's
the
on
way,
you.
absolutely, I will say that I have now beaten the game and have played. It's been a minute now since, because it takes us a lot of time to get to the recording studio here and get everything done. So my feelings on all of this have changed. And if you caught me 40 or so hours into the game, I probably had different thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably getting a little eager at that point to see the story play out. So I was probably more impatient
Yeah,
um,
I felt
around
that
that
too.
point. But now that I am unspoilable for the game, um, and I'm definitely going to go back all the way. I'm just going to start fresh at some point and play it all over again. I don't think I'm going to have an issue with any of these mini games. There's going to be some
Mm-hmm.
that I skip, and I'll go into maybe that later, which ones I I super hated. but yeah, I think in retrospect, I don't have a single problem with all the mini games.
Yep. Yep. All right. We're 20 minutes in. We've talked about our spoiler-free thoughts. Go play the game if you haven't. It's really a masterpiece. I can't believe they made this game in 3 years. I'm sure that there were labor issues. Let's hope not. Okay.
Well, I before we get super into spoilers, the people who made this game, they were able to retain something like 80% of the devs.
Oh, that's pretty
So
good.
like they were able to just like as a team continue rolling straight into it. So like part of why it feels so like such a natural thing and why they were able to knock it out so fast with it being as big as it is they still had all the people who are familiar with these tools and these workflows and stuff. So like that is what made it go so smooth, as that they were able to
Okay.
hold on to their staff like that,
I like
which
that.
is great.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's so important, especially in like this day and age, that they like valued with the, obviously like with Square's like their crown jewel, they valued the people making that enough that they're like, give them what they need, give it to
Mm-hmm.
them. And I'm super glad because like, yeah, I think maybe we should get into spoilers because I want to just
Yeah.
talk about some of that stuff.
Square is like the weirdest, or Squeenix, as people like to say. They're like
I've
the
never-
weirdest. Really? You've never heard this?
No, I've never heard
Square
Squeenix. I like that a lot.
Squeenix is like the weirdest studio because their Japanese releases are almost always well received, and their American or Western releases are almost never well received. And it's such a bizarre, like Square Enix with Outriders and Avengers and things like that, like just not well received. And then their Japanese studios are just killing it game after game.
Well, they're doing a lot of trend chasing. Like Outriders is it's a looter shooter without
Yeah,
PvP.
without a soul.
And, yeah, exactly. And same thing, honestly, with Revengers with Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that same thing. They're just trying to sell microtransactions and stuff. Which
Yep.
I never played that one. I did grab it before it was delisted though, so I would like to play through the story because I actually heard like the 40-hour story or whatever is actually pretty righteous for
It's fine.
for that game.
It's fine. Guardians of the
Fine.
Galaxy was better.
Okay, cool. I still haven't played through that yet. I need to.
Cool. Well, let's take a
Yeah.
quick break. When we get back, we'll go right into the spoiler section. And we're back. All right, Brandon, it's time to talk full game spoilers. So it is an open world. I want to talk about the gameplay first. The open world, I want to ask you your opinion on. It's a lot of towers, a lot of side quests, a lot of checkboxes, This is something that when it comes from Ubisoft gets a lot of hate. This felt different to me, but I don't know about you.
Yeah, I didn't like touching towers very much. I do like that each one was like the miniest of mini dungeons, where there's usually like a monster, and then you got to find out like
Uh-huh.
what to like, because all of the towers themselves are different to highlight different parts of the map. I think they're weak because sometimes like you'll hit the tower, you'll do the thing, and then like one little like a materia spring will pop up. Like it doesn't seem like a very like robust thing that you unlock with the towers. And it's been said jokingly that Chadley's got more voice lines than anybody in the entire game put together,
I
just
had
because of
to
all
turn
the
off the
bullshit.
feature of going through the controller
Mhm.
because it was so annoying. It was just so annoying. And for some reason it was much louder than my screen. And so
Wow.
I ended up I was playing on this portable monitor I have in
Mhm.
bed, and my wife was trying to sleep next to me, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry about turning it off. It's not very loud." Because she just likes some noise when she sleeps, you know?
Yeah.
And so I get a call from Chadley, and it's like, and she's just like, "What the hell was that?" And that's
Wow.
when I changed it. That is when I
Yeah.
changed it.
I actually was playing with headphones, so I kept kind of missing it. I'd see it pop up, and I'd have to pull a
Oh, when you
headphone
were on
cup off.
headphones, it still did that?
Yeah, it still comes through the controller.
That's
So, but
stupid.
yeah, they had it to where you can just turn that off and have them come through your headphones.
Yeah,
So I did
yeah.
that. But yeah,
Yeah,
so I
I
kept
ended up
missing
having
it.
it go through the screen. Yep.
But yeah, and that was better. But interesting idea. I always like when they try and like gives something to the gimmick for the PlayStation, but like it usually ends up being more trouble than it's worth.
Hmm.
I hate the triggers, the haptic
The
feedback
adaptive
trigger
triggers,
things. Yeah, I do not like them.
I don't mind them. They don't bother
And
me, but it doesn't like sell it for me. I
no,
like the haptic feedback. I don't really like the triggers very much. I mean, they're
yeah, it's
fine.
same. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
The triggers are the worst for me. I had to turn it off for Spider-Man.
Like I will say, when I first booted up Demon Souls on the PS5 and you feel the steps and they feel like real, that was cool with
Mhm.
the haptic feedback.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I do appreciate in Ghost of Tsushima, they do a really interesting thing you might remember from your 2 hours of it, where you, instead of having like a generic like here's the path to go, you have to swipe the middle pad and then the wind will blow in the direction you're supposed to go.
Yeah, that was cool. And I also liked swiping the pad for the yeah, that's how you put your sword away too, or pull out your flute or whatever it is.
In Final Fantasy or in Ghost of Tsushima?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember that. I need to get back into my ghost mode.
Right. Yeah, the middle pad in this one is pretty much just used is like the old, if we're talking old school, because I can never remember the names on any of them, what the buttons are now. It's the
Hmm.
select button. Um
Right.
so
I
this is
think
where
it's
you
like,
pull up your map and stuff.
yeah, because now what was the select button became the share button,
Yes.
which I do not care about.
Yeah, and on the Xbox, it's burger and I can't remember window. I can't remember what people call it, but I
I
like
did
the
buy a
burger
capture
button.
card so that I could stream from my PS5. That is something I did.
I
But
have one of those as well. Which one did you
but
get? By the way, I got a Elgato HD 60K.
I got one from TikTok Shop that was
Okay,
very cheap.
nice,
I think it was $10, and it works. Like I did it the other night, and it was good.
right on. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to check out some of your streams.
you gotta. I mean, they're not going to happen very often, but maybe we'll stream together in our one night every 2 months that we line up.
I would love that.
So we talked about the mini games. I don't want to belabor that point. The different biomes and chocobos. I heard this was different from the original. I heard in the original you got to take whatever custom chocobos to different areas.
Yeah, you kind of just had a chocobo, and biomes only became accessible. They kind of did a little bit of that. Different biomes become accessible with different vehicles that you have. Like in this one, you needed the to cross like in the desert in I can't remember names right now. Nouns. I'm
Yeah, and
always gonna have
Corel.
trouble with nouns. In Corel, you needed the buggy to get across like the little river. Um, it was kind of like that, where it was different color chocobos that could do different things, and so they kind of did it like this, but now the chocobos more or less have a bigger gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I
so
like
it's
them,
similar.
except there were a couple of points where I was like, why does it take so goddamn long to get up this cliff?
Yeah, that's that was in Gongaga, right?
I thought it was Junon. Junon is where you're climbing.
Oh, the Gongaga ones were the bouncy mushroom ones.
Yeah, those were weird too.
Yeah. A lot of people have a lot of problems with Gongaga's navigation in general, just because you got to bounce, and there's like no clear path of where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if we're talking biomes, like I like how there's a little bit of everything. This is not a Star Wars planet. You got like jungle, you got desert. There's a lot of desert, but it makes sense with the plot of the game, since we're pulling all of the planet's lifeblood out,
Right,
with
exactly.
the live stream. So it makes sense that there's a lot of desert, but you get the sense that Cosmo Canyon was always a desert.
Right.
And but yeah, like and there's a lot of beauty in it still. I like this is not a thing that ever existed in any of the games, but like in the grasslands and stuff, how they just had like little wisps of live stream that would just be dancing around in the grass like a fairy. I thought that was really cool. And like a touch that like I don't know why, like I wouldn't think that the live stream would be ever present everywhere, but of course it would be. It's just magic.
Right.
And I really liked seeing that as like a minor detail.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I liked how they led you to the or was it the owls that led you to the shrines?
That was cool too. Yeah, like they just flag you down, and they bring you to the live stream
Right.
springs, basically. The shrines,
The divine
those
intel stuff.
Yeah, for your summons, you'd find like these weird little. It almost looked like Vex, like blocky things that almost like block, like crystals, if crystals formed blocks instead of triangle-y shapes or whatever. And yeah, that I do wish that the bosses, like not the bosses, but the summons were like real fights instead of like, what they were, which is just Chad Lee challenges. But I do like that the summons were like a part of the world, and that it did make it made like a bit of sense geographically, like in in the Nibelheim region, how like Odin, because it's sort of it fits the theme of the region.
Right.
I really liked the way that they did that. I thought that was neat, a neat way to implement those.
Yeah, by the time I got to Nibelheim, I was done exploring. I was just like, okay, let's get to the end of the game, and then I'll go back.
It was the coolest chocobo as well in Nibelheim.
I did get the chocobo. I got the chocobo in every region.
Right on, yeah. You got to. I think literally you actually have to. Because if you don't...
I don't know. I think Cosmo Canyon you could actually get away with not, for some reason.
For the story? That seems crazy to me. Because as soon as you get in off the plane, you land at where the chocobo thing is, and you got to talk to, I'm not going to remember the girl's name, but it's a lady who runs it, and I think you would need that to get to. Anyway, I'll take your word for it right now.
But I thought chocobos were more important than they were in Cosmo Canyon, and I got really lost in like the whole obstacle course of flying, and I spent probably like 2 hours running around before I realized I could have just walked straight on the path and got into the town.
Yeah, I will say, the most confusion I had in trying to navigate was in Cosmo Canyon, just because it's so stacked. As far
it's
as
really weird.
Really
weird.
Really weird.
Party configurations and synergy abilities. This was something new to this, because in Remake, you had a set party for whatever part of the game you were in.
Yes.
And this also introduces synergy abilities, both the ones that are just on the quick menu and the super duper synergy abilities. What did you think about those? Was that a fun aspect they added?
Absolutely. This is something that you missed not playing the Yuffie adventure in intermission. Yuffie and Sonnen had some of the synergy abilities. They didn't. I don't believe they had the quick ones, the quick abilities, but they did have like the big synergy attacks. I think it's been a minute since, and I only played that once. But I thought that worked really well, and I pretty much beat the game before I realized the utility of like the quick abilities. I seem to do them by accident a lot. But I like that because like when you play a game like this, a lot of people would be tempted to just like stick with Cloud and just
Mhm.
let the other characters do whatever they're going to do. Maybe cycle to someone if they want to do an ability or a heal or something, or if Cloud gets knocked out. But it really incentivizes you to switch and build the ATB charges using different things on each of your
Mhm.
party members, so that way you can do those big synergy abilities because they're strong as hell.
Yeah.
Um,
And even
and
the quick ones are really really strong, and they don't take ATB, so it's really useful.
Absolutely. So yeah, I would argue that those are actually I didn't realize this until way too late, but those are probably more useful because they don't use
Mhm.
ATB and they hit so hard. Um I played on normal for most of the game, and as of where my characters are at now, and I didn't I didn't power level or grind just to level or anything,
Mhm.
but like nothing can survive like a the magic swing that Cloud and Aerith do. Nouns are bad.
Oh, I love that
But
one. I
but
love
yeah, I
that
mean,
one.
like just nothing survives it.
Isn't
So
it like Spellblade or something like that?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like it hits so hard, and if I would have known that 50 hours before I found out, and like how reliable it was, then the whole game probably would have been a lot more trivialized for me. But
Yeah, I did figure it out like not that far in. I think maybe Cosmo Canyon is when I started using it heavily.
I think my relying on what I learned from Rebirth or Remake, God, it's gonna kill me. Uh, Relying with what I had already known from playing remakes so many times. Um, I didn't take the time to learn the new stuff,
Mhm.
and I just fell back on old stuff without like really paying too much attention.
Right,
Um,
right.
that's where it got me.
What do you think the third one's going to be, by the way? Do you think Reunion?
They can't use a reunion because they used reunion for the Crisis Core uh,
Oh.
redo or whatever that they put on the current gen consoles.
Hmm.
Um, I believe that maybe it was Nomura who said that they were going to use reunion for this game because it made the most sense for this
Mhm.
game. But so no, it is pretty much and also there is a Twitter account that if you want to know the latest news and stuff coming from Japan, I'll get it to you, and maybe we should put it in the notes. But there is someone who translates the Ultimania for the game. All right, so real quick, each one of these games has a book that is basically like director's notes and stuff for them, and it's called Ultimania. They get into like, this is why we made these decisions. These are plot things that maybe we didn't lay out all the way in the game, but this is like definitive answers. Blah blah blah.
Hmm.
And they released the Ultimania couple, maybe a month or two ago.
Okay.
So like it filled out some of the like little details, that being one of them. Um, and now that I say all this, I forget what I was talking about in the first place. Um, but it is one of the details that that they put out there in the Ultimania.
Okay. Which is what 3 might be called?
Yes, that we know that it's not going to be
Okay.
reunion
Not
because they can't
Reunion.
use it, which they should have used it for this game because it would have been perfect because that's literally what we're doing in the entire process of the game of the story. So yeah,
Fair
we're
enough.
reuniting.
Well, why don't we
Um,
get more into the story?
yeah, let's do that. I was trying to remember. Somebody had like a very good word to put for the third game, but if I remember it, we'll get back to it.
Remake.
Reduski,
Okay.
recycle.
If you say so. All right. Cloud and the rest of Avalanche leave. You know what? I'm going to start over because I'm going to explain to you what I did. I broke this up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. And we're going to talk about each plot section separately just to, go over the biomes that we went to and whatnot and what we liked from those sections.
Maybe give that overview for the podcast. Actually,
I
let's say
did.
like
That's what I did right now.
Oh,
We're doing
okay.
it live.
I thought that was like a note. Okay, carry on then.
All right.
They know what you're doing.
They know what we're doing. Leave it in. All right. Main plot synopsis. Cloud and the rest of Avalanche leave Midgar to find and defeat Sephiroth. Cloud recounts his Nibelheim mission with Sephiroth that led to the destruction of his hometown and the assumed death of Sephiroth. The party begins in calm, but must quickly flee to the grasslands after Shinra appears. Finding themselves in Junon, they infiltrate a military parade in honor of Rufus Shinra's rise to power. There, they're joined by Yuffie, who interrupts their almost pardon with an assassination attempt on the president.
A lot of stuff in there. How at what point were you like fully hooked by this game? Like how did you like the storytelling that Cloud did in Calm there?
I loved it. I was right in.
Yeah, I really really love the way they handled it, because I mean, it is exactly like they did it in the original. What with like the pausing and Barrett asking silly questions or sometimes good questions, or Tifa, and they added Aerith as well, being upset that Cloud is in, if you choose to do it, that Cloud is in her childhood room. The piano, it was a thing. I really loved the way that they did that. Cloud seeming like so much cooler here right at the beginning. Like he's like a little bit more comfortable with this group of friends here, and just like sort of telling his story, and like little puppy Cloud and his adventure with Sephiroth was rad as well.
I love that. I love him being like, "Hey, Mr. Sephiroth, let's go off to town."
Yeah,
it was almost as good as Red using his real voice.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I like how Nibelheim, like you can tell there's just really horrible, messed up monsters everywhere that Sephiroth does not give a shit about because he's so badass. I always love getting glimpses of hero Sephiroth, because like he's such a Darth Vader character that like for all of us think of him as that way, but it's hard to forget that he's like a straight up hero to everyone. It's always cool to see him in that way before, the horrifying, terrible things that he does after that. I really like the way that played out. You get the iconic Sephiroth destroying the town, with him turning around and walking into the flames.
But let me make sure that I have to press R2 and L2 repeatedly to get,
of course,
to him.
Make sure we got to watch him. And we got to watch him slowly murder people with guns. Why would they approach him with the guns whenever he has a sword that's like 14 feet long? Something that jumped out to me is like the first steps that you take in the, like, if you're coming from remake, you're like, oh man, this is going to be a pain in the ass to navigate. But the way you like are able to just more freely roam the world in this game feels great. Just jumping through rocks, over rocks and stuff, when in the last game you had to like find a ladder if you wanted to take a step up some steps in the first game. So it's just way improved, which I'm not going to talk too many like just straight up gameplay because we're talking story right now, but that's just one of the
totally
things.
Agree with you though. It's you open up the new game and you it's a breath of fresh air compared to remake, and that's saying something because remake felt good anyway.
It did. And like the way that you head off up to the reactor, and it plays the opening credits there as you're like running, and Tifa is there, and it's got the coolest like country version of her theme song is played on like a banjo and stuff, and her little cowboy outfit. She's just so adorable and badass. Young Tifa's cool as hell. Zangan with his like sizing up Cloud with his little tiny muscles, trying to teach him how to fight. They just crushed it. And yeah, you get those little barbs with Sephiroth where he literally says that Cloud is such a puppy. It's really great, really great.
But you also like seeing Cloud sort of lose his innocence there, where by the end he's really like trying to fight Sephiroth and trying to do the right thing. Whereas
Yeah.
before, like, he didn't just go, "Oh, boy, if Sephiroth's doing it, it must be right." I think part of that was watching his friend get hurt.
For sure. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I know that you might not, and that I don't want to really spoil here. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that the way that they handled just about every bit of the flashback, I don't think they could have done it any better.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that just culturally, even if you haven't played through the first game, you'll know parts of that. But I think they really crushed it, and I have no qualms with Calm. Junon, uh, uh, joining the party back in like present times. Oh, and they did this whole weird thing where you have to escape Shinra
And
again and
Calm.
get into
Yeah.
and get into the getting through the grasslands and all that. Is this now? I'm having a hard time. This is the point where you have to get around the Midgard Stormer, right? The big snake thing. Yes,
I think so.
this would be that where you're getting a lot
Mm-hmm.
of flashes of Sephiroth. You're getting
Yes.
the cloaked men, all those guys, and you're basically following the cloaked men for this whole game.
Yeah.
But yeah, the all that, and then you get to Junon. And what did you think about the parade and stuff at Junon? How did that make you feel?
I had a fantastic time. I have to tell you, I found every single troop because I just wanted the full. I wanted the full regalia for
Yeah,
Cloud to
same.
perform with everybody, and it was great. And I did it well enough to get the achievement or the trophy, whatever it is.
Heck yeah.
I'm very happy with that one. I don't want to win 100% the game, but I was like, I'm getting this trophy. If there's a trophy here, I'm getting it.
Yeah, I think this is obviously this game's answer to the dance off from the first game. It sort of uses a
Yeah.
similar mechanic where you're following this ethereal thing that leads to the context sensitive button press that you have to do to
Yep.
make your dudes do whatever. But yeah, it was very fun trying to find. Like I really liked roaming around the city and trying to find all the guys. I liked this is our first taste of our main crew in different costumes.
Oh
It was cool.
yeah.
It was cool to see everybody in their little Shinra get ups. That was fun. Still obviously who they are. Like, and I think in the original game they swapped out sprites or whatever they were using. But Cloud still was walking around with the Buster Sword, so he was very clearly Cloud still.
And yeah, he's a soldier. He's
Yes.
he's a soldier. He was not ever a cadet or whatever it was.
Yes. Yeah. So the yeah, I really enjoyed Junon and all of that there. The Yuffie was pretty fun at this point too. And
She annoyed the heck out of me at this point.
Absolutely. Which is the charm of Yuffie. I think you get a little bit in intermission. You get kind of either you love her or you hate her at that point. I'm definitely used to the way that they are characterizing her now. So like I was pretty much only charmed. But maybe it's because I had that bit of in there. I was already in the tank for her a little bit. I really like the way that they are characterizing Rufus.
Mm-hmm.
Rufus Shinra is David Bowie looking ass.
He is.
He just seems so cool and collected, and I like that they kind of treat him like a pop star.
Yeah, and also he's different from his dad, right? He's like, listen, I don't care about your stupid bombings. It's all done. Can you just go handle Sephiroth for me? That was a cool moment that Yuffie completely botches.
She just ruined it. Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. He is a different face and direction for Shinra, it seems like.
But then you have, and I didn't really write this in the summary, but then you have this weird thing going on with Wu Tai and just wackiness going on with like what is going on between Shinra and Wu Tai at this point.
Yeah. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Wu Tai played a part in the other game or in the original game, but it seems like they're laying a lot more groundwork for Wu Tai to maybe in part 3 be like a way bigger thing. because like you can kind of ignore Wutai because honestly, Yuffie in the original game was an optional character. You didn't need her at all.
Oh, really?
And you actually kind of
like
had
you
to.
didn't have to take her into your party at all?
No, you could actually like mess it up and not get her into your party because you used the wrong. You answered her questions wrong, basically.
Oh,
And
wow.
then she just steals some of your stuff, and you never see her again.
And you can still finish the game like that?
Yep.
Oh,
she's
wow.
She's not even in the end cutscenes of the game. Like,
Wow.
she's not in there. She's
That's
just
crazy.
an optional character. Yeah, JRPGs used to roll different. They didn't give you everything if you didn't work for it.
Yeah.
So
weird.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's definitely fully
Persona
integrated
still has
now.
a lot of like missable events. Like Persona, if you don't, get your social links up fast enough, you might not ever get the rewards from that relationship and things like that. And you could actually miss out on the entire post game DLC in Persona by not getting certain social links up in time.
I kind of like that, but I think I'm too spoiled at this point.
I mean, you could just look up what social link to max out to get to the DLC. There's plenty of guides for that.
That's what I do. But I mean, yeah, that and like if you miss it, play it again. That's what they want you.
No, not for a 100-hour game. I'm sorry, but I am 80 hours into Persona 5 and I'm not close to the end, and it's a problem.
A fun problem, sounds like.
Depends. Depends. All right. So let's go on to the party going on a cruise to Costa del Sol, a tropical resort where they meet their old enemy, Mojo Jojo. They narrowly escape capture and go to Corel, Barrett's hometown, where he is a pariah. After a minigame fest at the Golden Saucer, the group and their new companion, Kate Sith, find Barrett's old friend, Dine. Barrett and Dine battle over their past mistakes, and the group moves on to Gongaga. I can't say it.
Gongaga.
I don't believe you. There, they go to an old reactor, learn more about Sephiroth's plan, and watch Cloud go a little off the rails.
That's also a lot of stuff. You're actually doing a very good job of bite-sizing this game.
I'm trying. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, summarizing stories, so I better be able to do it by now.
Well, you know what? You're crushing it. Did you expect a tropical vacation at this point in the game?
No, it felt very like a hard left turn.
Yes, it definitely did in the original, and it was. I think maybe I was more looking forward to the Gold Saucer, but Costa del Sol was a very close second, and it did not, for me anyway. It did not disappoint.
Yeah, I liked both of those places. I really, really, really enjoyed. I mean, I guess I most enjoyed the whole Dine thing and Barrett's backstory.
Definitely.
I always found Barrett a little exhausting. Did I say Barrett like Aerith and Barrett? Anyway, Barrett a little exhausting. But this made me see his character in such a different light. It made me like him a lot better.
Yes, this is kind of Barrett's arc, and it sort of plays out in its own like whole section of the game. And I think they handled it really well here. There's like a little bit of a mini mystery of like, did Barrett murder these people in the Gold Saucer? And the way that plays out is pretty. They do a weird thing where you're basically god-killing heroes at this point, get captured by a group of thugs. And the way that they play it is so funny because it seems like they can break out if they wanted to, but they're just like, just go, Cloud, just do whatever they need you to do. We don't want to have to murder all these people.
Yeah.
All these thugs.
Fair enough.
That's the gravity that they seem to give this whole situation.
Can I say the memes on TikTok and on Reddit where they show Cloud on the Segway in Costa del Sol, and they're like, "We need to find Sephiroth." Cloud.
Yeah,
killed me.
It is very good. I love
the world is falling apart. Cloud, what's he doing?
Red in his little Segway. I love the inclusion of that, and like the beach outfits that you got to put on, even though the dudes in the black cloaks can go on the beach without beach outfits just
Mhm.
fine.
Well, like they probably, my headcanon is they asked them to stop, but they don't listen to anybody, so they just went
Yeah, they're
anyway.
just and they just walked
And
out
nobody wanted
onto
to
the
touch
beach.
them.
Yep, that's probably the
They're a
better
little
point.
dirty.
They smell like work boots. But yeah, the yeah, I loved beach volleyball outfits for everybody. You get your I think here you get your first little glimpse of Red 13 in his real voice. Because he does like a weird little gasp. He might have an eye for humans. It seems like because he gets a little bashful around seeing Aerith and Tifa in their bikinis. But yeah. And then the weird just Hojo fight on the beach. But yeah, moving on to the obviously like the Gold Saucer is a fun little like Disney slash Las Vegas area, and I think it is visually breathtaking. The introduction there where there's like a J-pop like dance number that when they show like Dio for the first time and Yuffie puts on like this weird little like outfit and they do a choreographed dance. I just my jaw was
Dio
go on.
is straight out of One Piece. Like he is just an anime character. It reminded me of Hercule from Dragon Ball Z.
He does look like Hercule, yeah. And he's just so ripped and like he just the most sort of macho man like energy coming off of him where he flexes and like he punctuates all of his sentences with flexes and stuff. Very fun, great character. I like him a lot. That whole thing culminates in like a VR boxing match that you got to do, and they do a thing in this game where they use the old very few polygon versions of the characters in a couple of different spots for mini games in a very charming way.
Yeah, I really liked the I forgot what it was called, but where you're looking for like the secret pieces of something and you have to fight with the turn-based kind of
the Fort Condor thing.
Fort Condor, that's what I'm trying to say.
That whole like side quest line, I can't remember exactly what it's the Proto Relic quest line.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that is like I didn't realize how mandatory it was until I had actually completed the game. But that's sort of what I'm chipping away at right now is doing the Proto Relic quest. But if you have not played this game yet, I don't know why you're listening to this, but if you have not done the Proto Relic thing, do it. Go back and do that because it is very important and it's very fun.
Interesting, because I didn't finish it.
You should.
Okay.
I will. Eyes to the camera. Go ahead and do the Proto Relic thing. You're going to need to.
This is an audio-only podcast, folks.
The dying stuff, back to that to just finish off. I think in the original game, it was handled a little bit more subtly with dying, but I think they did a great job here in translating it. The Dyne fight as Barrett was pretty good, and I like how Dyne's gun arm just seems to have some wild nanomachine bullshit. It is just a very cool gun arm that I wish that I could have stolen for Barrett, but just the emotional,
it'll be fine.
The emotional, that's what we should do. I mean, he's not using it. The emotional weight of all of it for Barrett, because they sort of drop everything for him here. And it sort of paints his character in like such a different light. He lost everything. And when it just shows like, and the way they handle it with Marlene, where, because Dyne thinks, Marlene is obviously Dyne's daughter.
Right.
And he thought that she died. And when Barrett explains to him that no, Marlene's still here and he's got a picture of her and everything, his hands are too bloody to even hold her at this point. So he just loses his shit, and like Barrett has to suffer. Barrett has to deal with his death again of his best friend. And it really,
I didn't even think of it that way. It's like a second death for him.
Yes, and it's just so brutal because, and I mean, he has to look into Dine's eyes with every time the person who's the most important person to him in the entire world, just looks like his friend. So like, it's a hard thing that he has to deal with, and like, it makes sense why. For one thing, it's when you adopt a kid, that's your kid. So like, it kind of doesn't matter at this point, but it's just such an important painting onto his character, like why this matters so much. And it explains why he hates Shinra as much. And it's funny because like he was like, they wanted to do like Cole. That's what they did in Coral. Corel. It's a funny thing to think about, that Cole was probably a way better option than stealing the lifeblood from the planet. And that's what Barrett really pulled hard to get that Mako. I'm never going to remember that it's Mako reactor. I got every noun wrong when I read this game, the original game. It was let's see, Junin, or Junion, sorry, is what I used to call it. Coral is what I called it. Mako is what I called it. Every single one I got wrong.
Well, I'm grateful that I played Remake first then.
Probably good, at least for not getting people mad that you pronounce things wrong. But yeah, do you have anything else to add on Dine? I really like the way they handled all of that.
It's interesting. I did not get this far in the original before I got frustrated and put it down. But I've heard criticism of how they changed it. I've heard that people liked it better in the first one, where he threatens to kill Marlene with him, and that's what gets Barrett to finally turn on him.
Yeah, I think and there's like a couple of small differences, but I think that one is just, it's going to be a roll of the dice whether or not you like it more or less. This is one of the areas where I'm like, they might not have improved upon it from the OG as much, because a lot of the things I'll say are kind of just straight upgrades in this game. But with one, I think, glaring omission. But this is one of the ones that's more like, maybe the OG did it better. But I'm not upset with the way they handled it here.
Okay, good.
But yeah, so now they move on to Gongaga, which is how you say that.
Gongaga felt like almost meaningless until you get to the reactor. Like, but the town felt kind of meaningless. Other than, we haven't really talked about Zach. I kind of left him out of most of the recap, but
I completely forgot to talk about him because he's we can handle Zach now if you like. He's kind of entirely a nothing burger for this whole game.
I know
it's fan service. The game actually starts with Zach. I forgot all about that.
And he just pops up every few chapters.
Yes,
with
to
Biggs,
be like, hey, remember
Biggs
Zach
is alive, and you're in this alternate universe where everyone's dying, and
I think at the end we can deal with the alternate universe of it all. But I mean, like, this Gongaga exists. It existed in the original game, but they sort of stretch it out a little bit here, with the reactor and just with it's all to like just show how and where Zach grew up. It seems like, and to like,
which is very
give
strange.
him further characterization. It is.
Can I ask you, was Zach just dead as of the original Nibelheim trip with Sephiroth in the original?
Was he
gone for good?
I'll say no.
Okay, you don't have to say more. That's fine.
I don't want to say too much more about what Zach was doing in the original game. I will say that what do I want to say? This game does say that that Aerith and Zach had a relationship. So it is, they do actually use this to sort of give Aerith a little bit more characterization, because and they do it in an interesting way where Aerith talks to Tifa about Zach. But she doesn't give Cloud very much about it because she's hot for Cloud. So and her and Tifa are like just straight besties, which is very nice. There's obviously like a love triangle with Tifa and Cloud and Aerith, and I love that never for 1 second does an ounce of jealousy get between Aerith and Tifa's friendship. I think they do an excellent job with showing how close they became so fast as well.
Yeah.
But
there's
yeah,
not a
that's
lot of
kind of
competition by the end of the game anyway.
no, I'd say not. That's kind of all that Gongaga does, except that they have an entire like wild bit of stuff with the weapons. Weapons being planetary Godzilla kind of creatures. And this is also the first point where Cloud goes completely buck wild with his
like brainwashing.
Genova brainwashing bullshit.
Yeah. I still don't understand fully how it happens, but I think it's a part 3 spoiler.
I don't. Yeah, I guess so.
I think there's more to be revealed that I don't know yet, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think part of it is just that Sephiroth is an expert gaslighter.
He's definitely great at that. It's one of his superpowers. But yeah, they do this thing where Tifa goes into the live stream itself, it seems like.
Yes.
But yeah, that was pretty interesting. The like weird sort of insights she gets into there, and I was like, for a second, I was like, are they about to kill Tifa? Like, is Tifa about to die? Which would have been wild. But yeah, they didn't, and Tifa gets spit out by the weapon, and Cloud's just kind of let off the hook, and they just move right along to Cosmo Canyon.
Yeah.
Did we get any that you can remember? It says to learn more about Sephiroth's plan. Did they get anything from here from there about Sephiroth?
I think that was where they figured out that the white whispers were helping Aerith and the black whispers were helping Sephiroth.
I see. Okay. Yes. Oh, and something about the whispers. They were supposed to have died in the last game. That's kind of what the whole fight at the end of the last game did, was you got rid of the whispers. And interestingly, now the whispers all have a like purple glowing eye on them. The black ones do, which is sort of a mark of Genova, because Genova only has the one eye, the one purple eye. So it seems like that's probably what's going on there with them. Yeah. So Cosmo Canyon.
We'll get there right after the break. And we're back. Let's talk Cosmo Canyon. I mean, we get a lot here. Quite a lot. And
yes.
The first thing is we get a new voice for Red. And before I recap, I just want to say, when Red first spoke that way, I thought there was a glitch in the audio where a different voice actor, like a placeholder or something, was left in.
Some scratch audio.
I thought there was a mistake. And I was devastated when I found out that was how he was going to sound the rest of the game.
Yeah. I hated it.
Me too.
I really didn't like that. I like the idea, but I think the execution went a little too hard on making him sound like a widow baby. It was a big adjustment. It's the same voice actor, which, shows his range, which is nice. I guess. But I didn't care for that. Also, did we take the tiny Bronco to get here? I think we did.
Yes, I believe so.
So we would have been introduced at this point from Gongaga. That's right. We took the plane, the tiny Bronco. So we were introduced to Sid, who seems like a pretty cool guy and flies the plane.
Man, he was so much older than I thought he would be, because my introduction to Sid was Kingdom Hearts 1, where he's the shop guy.
Yeah.
My introduction to a lot of these, like Cloud, my first introduction was when you have to fight him in like the Coliseum.
Yep, in the Hercules Coliseum. Yeah, you would have been introduced to a lot of dudes. God, he was in Kingdom
Mhm.
Hearts. I forgot Sid was in there.
Yeah, he was the
I thought you
vendor.
were. Yeah, damn. Yeah, he seemed a lot older in the original, and this one he seems, which I'm a lot older, so he. It's always wild to think that Auron from Final Fantasy X is like 35. How does that make you feel?
I'm sorry. Who is 10?
In Final Fantasy X, Auron
Oh.
is 35.
Oh. I don't like that.
I don't either, because I'm 34, and Auron seemed like an old, decrepit man.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Sid, pretty cool guy, flew us on into Cosmo Canyon, and we got to learn Nanaki's real voice and name.
Nanako. Right?
Nanaki is
Is
actually
it?
it is.
What?
I used to pronounce it Nanaki, but they pronounce it Nanaki.
Okay. All right. Yeah, he's gonna leave the group to guard the canyon, huh?
Yes. So this was kind of why he stuck with the group anyway, is to get back to Cosmo Canyon. And we get to introduced to his weird little hippie commune and his adoptive family, Bugenhagen.
Bugenhagen. Why that name?
I don't know. I've never really looked into it. I also thought because of the way his like sprite from the old game, I don't know if they're technically sprites. I don't think they are. Whatever you call their little, the way they were animated in the original, I thought he was like a weird little tiger man or tiger wolf like Red was, but he's just an old man. I like the way that they sort of characterize him. But yeah, it's
He's kind
I
of
also
arrogant,
like
right? He's
little
arrogant
bit.
at first. I mean, they're saying like, "Hey, the planet's dying." He's like, "Oh no, just go to your books. You'll see. They're not actually. It's not
Yeah,
actually dying." And then he I think he's convinced by the end.
definitely. The also planetology being like the study of the planet and all of the planets is interesting, especially when it takes like a much more like real grounded like. This is where we kind of learn about like the life stream in general, and like I like their Bugenhagen was a part of Shinra until
Uh-huh.
he left because he didn't agree with the way they were advancing the tech. And up in Cosmo Canyon, they sort of have a much more harmonious relationship with technology.
Mm-hmm.
They're not using live stream. There's a lot of wind like generated power here, which is really cool. That they're like synergizing with the planet there
Yeah, I
while
like
studying
that.
it. Interesting way that they do all that there. And this is where we get the most sort of character development as well from Nanaki. Because he's got to go do his little trials to become the guardian of the canyon. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that they take Bugenhagen sends Barrett with him. They do a lot of this where they break up the characters a lot, and you're playing in this game a lot less with Cloud. He's going to be your main guy for most of the game, but they give sort of all of your characters a like sort of a moment to shine as the main character for a little bit, which I like a
I do
lot.
like that too, because also it forces you to sort of learn to play as the other characters, where in the first one, it felt like you could just play as Cloud and never touch anybody else.
Yeah, you kind of could, and I kind of did.
And Yuffie is so fun to play with.
She is. Obviously they developed a whole spinoff for her, so like she's got like a very robust move set and stuff. But
Even
like,
Nanaki, even Red was really enjoyable by the end of this segment. I was when I did this segment, I was like, maybe I should play as Red more.
yeah. In the original game, funny enough, Red was always in my party, just because I thought he was cool as hell. But I like him. I think the only weakness I would say from him is that to use the majority of your good attacks, you have to do a lot of blocking,
Mm,
which is not what I want to do if I want to be constantly switching between characters.
right.
And you kind of have to do that to get your vengeance gauge up with Red. So it's kind of a pain if you're not trying to main him, but especially whenever so many characters slot through and are able to get in and out. Real quick, who was your like main
Okay.
3 people?
Okay. Cloud, Yuffie, and Aerith.
Okay.
How about you?
Solid choice. Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith.
Okay. Classic.
Yep, I got to keep the Holy Trinity all the time. But I don't have really any complaints with any but one of the characters that you get to control. Oh yeah,
Kate's annoying.
And yeah, and like he's got a whole section later that sort of serves to teach you how to play as him. But the randomness of it all, and I don't like that you have to start the fight off of your mount every time. It really is just a pain in the ass. It would be like if you have to like use AP to get Cloud into not vengeance mode, but Punisher mode. It's just annoying. But yes, back to story. So this is where we get most of Red's character development with his father, which before this, I think they could have maybe gave Red a little bit more foreshadowing that he's got daddy issues, because they presented them all and in full right here, and then they're just immediately resolved, which is kind of the way they did it in the original as well. But I still found it very moving. You're also introduced to a whole new faction with the Gi.
Yes, that felt out of nowhere. That one is the thing that I think most felt jarring.
Yes. And they played this isn't a spoiler. They played a much smaller part in the original game. They have blown them up in such a strong degree, I think. So they we'll get into that, I think, at the end. But yeah, they just take a much bigger role, which I think is a very interesting thing. The perpetual afterlife. So yeah, when you meet Ginatok, he which is a cool guy. I think he's a cool ass character.
Well, he fights you. He fights you real bad, and then he comes back. He's like, "All right, come with me. I got to talk to you about this black materia business."
That fight in the original game, you could beat him in one move, and that was where you just feed him Phoenix down, and he dies immediately because he's undead.
Huh. That's funny.
It's a very rough fight, but they did the old school RPG thing where if you heal him, he'll die.
But that doesn't happen in this one, right?
I tried it. It didn't work.
That's funny.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. But one of my favorite visuals is the party in Ginatok's boat as he's giving his little thing. I took a screenshot of that one. And he's sort of telling you the plight of the Gi, where they're aliens. And they can't die because they're not from oh my god, what do we call the planet? The planet. It's got a name.
They didn't even name it.
It's got a name. I can't remember.
I thought there was no planet. I thought there was no name at all.
It's Gaia.
It is?
It is. But
because I don't think they ever told us that in either of these games.
I don't think they have.
It's called the planet.
Yeah. You can't they can't return to the planet because they're not from the planet. So they have to live as ghosts, basically. And they desire the death, so they made the black materia.
But then I was a little unclear. So like the Cetra took it from them and then hid it away?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because it's basically a nuke. So they were at war with the Cetra, which is sort of what diminished their powers in general. And it also painted a light that the Cetra aren't, angels either. They're not a perfect race of people. They were just straight up at war, and they stole that from, they stole the black materia from the Gi. Obviously they didn't want to be nuked, but they were at war with them at the time. And all of this was sort of masterminded by Genova.
Right.
So that I think it's one of the best additions that they added to like the stakes and the overall lore of the game. because the
Right.
Gi didn't really play much of a part into it, and using like intertwining that with Red's background is done really well. And I like the resolution of Red's story where he learns that his father, who he super resented, sacrificed himself to save everything, kind of. And they did this corny thing in the original where the frozen petrified Seto, which is the name of Nanaki's father, cries, and they did it again in this, and it was very moving. I was moved by a crying petrified dog wolf
So is he
rat dog.
alive in there?
I think this is
That's
implying that
terrifying.
he's still alive.
That's
It
way
is.
worse than him just being dead.
I would say so, yes.
Just kill me. If I'm stuck in a statue form, just kill me. Please.
I will do that. I will
Send
do
Sephiroth
that for you. But yeah, that's kind of everything here. Did you have any thoughts here about what we're doing here?
No, I think that's a good summary. We got the black materia. It felt like it kind of came out of nowhere, honestly. They were like, okay, so your quest was to find Sephiroth this whole time. Now your quest is to get the black materia. Big pivot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how good of a job they did, but Sephiroth is also after the black materia.
Oh yeah, but here's the thing. Like, I don't think that the group had the information that he was.
I don't think so either.
They're just like, he must be after it too. Let's go.
And honestly, by the end of the game, he's kind of not. It doesn't even seem like he is after the black materia anymore. Like,
well, I think he was. I think it was speeding things up for him, and I think he used it to cause some havoc there. And then
and he's kind of doing something different, which I suppose we'll get into when we get there.
Can I say, I think that they should not have had this voice actor for Sephiroth. I think they should have had Pegasus from the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime.
Yu-Gi boy. Yu-Gi boy.
Cloud boy.
That's fun. I actually super miss George Newbern, who was the voice from Advent Children. He did great, but yeah, that doesn't sound like a bad one.
Pegasus.
Yu-Gi boy.
I love
Is that
it.
good?
Yeah, I liked it.
I never
You've
watched
activated
Yu-Gi-Oh.
my trap card, Cloud.
That's fun. Okay, so on to Nibelheim. Is where we're gonna go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Nibelheim
Shinra has rebuilt the village as a center for Mako poisoning treatment. They go to Shinra Manor and find Vincent Valentine, who joins the party in the weirdest way. They learn the location of the Cedra Temple and that the key was last seen at the Golden Saucer. There, they obtain the key, but Kate Sith betrays the party and gives it to Shinra.
Yeah. Nibelheim, a pretty cool area that I honestly didn't spend too much time in either. They did this different as well. So in this version, Shinra rebuilt the village as center for Mako poisoning, as you said. In the original, I think they kind of did this a little cooler, where Shinra just built a fake version of the same town, and everyone is just paid actors and they're pretending that nothing happened.
That's insane. I mean,
I know.
They kind of, it's almost there, right? Like, they did rebuild the town exactly how it looked.
Yes. Down to, like, obviously, like, it's still the same assets. So everything is still there.
Yeah.
Like when you go into the bedrooms and stuff. But
it's weird.
It is weird. The Shinra Manor stuff. So Vincent, I think they really nailed his entire like oeuvre. I love the vibes coming off of Vincent. I love that they introduced him as a boss fight. He is also, fun fact, entirely avoidable in the original game too. He is an optional character. So yeah, you don't even have to meet him in the original.
Oh, really?
You just walk right past his coffin.
He got his own spin-off, right?
He did. His game was called The Dirge of Cerberus, and they introduced some very questionable things in that game. If it was still around, I'd probably give it a go because it was like a third-person shooter. They didn't really give you a good example of Vince. I guess part of it, Vincent's limit breaks were turn into different monsters. So you fought that monster in this, but he mostly fights with like a gun, like a pistol, like a hand cannon sort of Destiny style. That's his first gun anyway, and you get like a shotgun and a rifle. But he's like a former Turk, turned he's got a whole thing. We'll get into him later whenever the game does, in the third game probably. For now, like, I love the way you said that he just joins the party in a weird ass way.
Yeah, he just shows
true.
up. They're like, hey, you should join the party. He's like, I don't know. And then he goes back to his weird coffin. Why is he a vampire? Why is he a vampire?
Hojo.
I mean, this is such a JRPG thing to just have random people with random abilities.
Random vampires. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's just some experimenting on him. He's actually pretty intertwined with a pretty important character. I'll just say Sephiroth's.
He does mention that in this. He says basically like had to do with his creation, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, we will learn a lot more about him, I think, in game 3. They couldn't not put him in there. I don't think. And I mean, you had to get in the manor. You had to, so I think it is justifiable to put him in this game. Kind of annoying that you don't get to play as him, but this game had plenty of people you could play as. So yeah. I get it.
I would much rather have played as him than Kate Sith.
Yes. Speaking of Kate Sith, a lot of annoying shit with him. There's like a whole Kate Sith dungeon that you got to throw boxes. Didn't like that. Did you like that?
It was okay. It wasn't. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Again, this was at the point in the game where I'm like, I'm ready to do the whole temple and ending.
For sure.
I'm ready to feel pain because I knew Aerith died at the end of this game. Like I was spoiled that way before I even played the first one. Yeah. Just because I've seen TikToks of, I showed this to you last time we did a Final Fantasy podcast. Like I saw a TikTok of this woman cosplaying Aerith at the bottom of an escalator and somebody cosplaying Sephiroth going down the escalator with the sword very slowly while she's praying at the bottom. Brutal. Yeah.
Brutal. Too soon.
That's how I found out. So aren't you glad you didn't find out that way?
I definitely am. To not rush, because I was kind of with you. I was like ready to sort of get to it because I wanted to know if they were going to do it the same way. But this is where the date happens.
Yes. I wanted to bring that up.
All throughout the game, the little like the missions and stuff you're doing, you're building rapport with your party. And depending on who you have the strongest bond with, you get to go on a date at the Gold Saucer.
Mm-hmm. Who'd you
get? You get to see. I got Aerith.
Me too.
Yeah, I made absolutely sure to get Aerith, because she's my main, I think.
I'm a
shipping
Claret stand.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely am.
I think Tifa encourages Cloud. No, I'm going to pause and talk about this. Tifa encourages Cloud's worst impulses. She she babies him, and she doesn't talk to him with real talk. She hides things from him when she thinks it's going to hurt his feelings. Aerith is, Aerith portrays this like innocent look, but she's very wise and she's very like, cut the shit, man. This is, act better. Like she is very, very tough with him when she needs to be.
I think that honestly, they're both good for Cloud in very different ways.
No, you're wrong.
Cloud's brain is just messed up. Cloud's brain is just horribly messed up, and Tifa is like sort of the perfect like caregiver. Cloud's mom even is like, she says that she, in a kind of a weird thing for her to say, she's like, maybe you need to just find a girl, maybe an older girl, one that can take care of you. She says something like that to him whenever he visits for the last time at Nibelheim. But Tifa is kind of that responsible caregiving person that I think would be very good for Cloud. And I think in any other world, in a world where Aerith doesn't exist, I think Tifa is obviously the person who he should be with, but Aerith does exist. So that's where I sort of fall through there.
Mhm.
And it's hard to not with knowing the future that we know by the end of this game. It's kind of hard to not want to go for like the biggest devastation and be one that wants them to be together, because you could tell they've got just such good chemistry. Cloud is such a shithead, and Aerith does not give a shit. Like she doesn't, she sees right through it.
Yeah.
And she likes him anyway.
I like that a lot. I really like how she gets through him, and I don't think Tifa really does.
Yeah, they have an interesting history, where like Tifa was kind of the cool girl in town, and Cloud was just kind of like a weird little guy who didn't.
He was a little dweeb.
He was, and she kind of didn't really give him time of day until like right before he left. Like they had like a weird adventure, and Tifa almost died. So Tifa's dad banned Tifa from ever hanging out with Cloud, which she was like, I mean, I never hung out with him really anyway. And yeah, so like they didn't really bond at all until right as Cloud was leaving to join Soldier. And then she found him literally in the gutter in Midgar, before the start of the game, basically. And it was like, you're Cloud. I haven't seen you in 5 years. What the hell have you been doing?
Yeah, and it's so weird because there's a time gap, right? There's a memory gap for Cloud.
There is
like a 5-year memory gap that does not make sense.
No, it does not, and it should not.
I'm so looking forward to finding out. I was hoping that we were going to find out by the end of this game, but I guess we gotta wait. Gotta
wait a little bit longer. But the date, I think, was very sweet. I love the hotel in the gold saucer, the haunted hotel, and the Spider-Man that you got to talk to, the concierge.
So silly.
I like the Tonberry, like all the little stuff in the hotel room that you're in. And just whenever you open that door and it's not Tifa, but it's Aerith that's there, and you guys go on your little date. That was fun, just running around the gold saucer and seeing the show. What did you think about the show?
I'm gutted. I mean, Jesse showing back up.
Yeah.
I really loved the whole mini game with fighting Monster Barrett and whatnot.
Yeah.
Beautifully done. A+++. The date was fantastic. I'm curious, do you get a different date if you get a different character?
So when you beat the game, you can actually just play through that section on whichever you get to pick whoever you go on a date with. And I've seen all of the dates. The date is kind of the same. The princess changes depending on who you go on the date with. Aerith will always sing the song.
What happens if you get Red?
I don't remember what they do for that. I think Red and Barrett's take the same place, and then one of the girls will be but Yuffie or Tifa or Aerith can be the princess.
Okay.
I like that it's kind of like a fake Final Fantasy game that they're playing, like they're doing a play of. I love all of that. Barrett as a dragon knight with a gun arm, very cool. And Cloud's stilted performance is so good of him, and the voice actor does such a good job of being like, I'm a normal guy saying this dumb medieval bullshit. It's just the way that it was handled was so good.
It's so hard for an actor to act like they're bad at acting. It feels like,
yes,
but
guy crushed it so hard. I don't even know his name, but he's Cloud to me, so that's very good. Them seeing the portrait of Jesse as well before you know that you're gonna see Jesse do a beautiful like dance was really, really good. And like you can see Tifa and Barrett kind of have a moment where they can you can catch them looking at the picture of Jesse there. And with how hard they characterized Jesse in the first game, like I think they paid that off really well. And seeing Jesse like in her element doing the dance before Loveless starts was really cool to see.
And she could have kept doing that, right? If she hadn't joined Avalanche, she would have still been on that stage probably.
And it was just for like a dance in a video game. Like we're there all the way because it was like just a beautiful dance and stuff. So like really loved all that.
And Cloud says at one point, "Oh, broke my heart. Still owe me that pizza."
Yep,
Broke my heart.
really rough. It was they did such a good job, man. I love the gold saucer. Like this is definitely like one of the parts of the game that I like the most. The dates go kind of different. I can kind of break those down real quick. You had Aerith. So what did you think about just the moment? The big thing between all the characters was the moment in the roller coaster, not a roller coaster. What is it called?
Ferris wheel.
Yeah, it's like a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
That's the biggest like sort of difference is that you get a moment with whoever you go on the date with in the Ferris wheel. I liked a lot the Cloud and Aerith date. It's tender. They don't nothing happens. Doesn't seem like anyway, but it's just a nice bit of them bonding, and I think it was beautiful. And I got a lot of my background on my PC right now is of them sort of like of Aerith resting on Cloud.
That's cute.
Yeah. Anything to add on their date?
Not really. It was great. I think you're right. It was like on the border of platonic and romantic, right? And that was nice.
Yeah,
it felt right for them.
And Cloud actually finally takes he takes initiative and he holds her hand. And I think that's such a good. It just takes you back to being a teenager, and like that's the biggest step you can make is to just grab that hand. Like she's actually like happy that he's enough of a human to do anything. So like it was really nice. Nice. The Tifa date and the Yuffie date are the ones that I want to remark on. Did you want to save that for yourself
and
watch
ahead.
them?
But listener, if you want to save that for yourself, skip ahead like 2 minutes.
Yeah, probably less because I'll handle it in about a minute. Tifa and Cloud's date, she does a lot more. They just have a lot more of a little bit of a serious conversation. But it ends with a kiss. So, so that one's a little saucier. And then the Yuffie one, so in a different game, I think in Crisis Core, you get to meet a young Yuffie who falls in love with Zack. And the date with Yuffie is completely platonic. And Cloud does a lot to like sort of boost her up, like, hey, maybe you'll find that guy you fell in love with again. And it's just very cute. Also, I can't remember what revelation that Red 13 does in that date, but he gives like a big plot thing that I can't remember at this point. Maybe I'll do an addendum later, but like, yeah. So like each one of the dates is worth watching. So if you beat the game, you can go back and watch all the dates because they're cool as hell. Cool. And we can move on from dating sim at this point. We're getting a little long.
Sounds good. See, this is why I think you would like Persona, because there's like a whole dating mechanic in that too.
This is very good. I do like this kind of thing.
And you could. A really fun thing is you can date everybody, and then on Valentine's Day they'll all get together and beat you up.
I love that.
It's great. It's great. Then you get one after that. You get to keep one. So Sid takes the party to the Cetra Temple, and as Shinra activates it, the group makes their way through to the black materia. Sephiroth controls Cloud's mind and forces him to give him the black materia. Aerith and Cloud transport to an alternate timeline where the world is ending, and they can be open about their feelings. Aerith assures him what is going to happen is not his fault, and pushes him back to the main reality. There, Sephiroth brings his sword down on Aerith as she prays. Cloud blocks the sword, but the scene glitches out, and Sephiroth removes his sword from a dying Aerith. Cloud and the team, including Zack and Aerith, defeat Sephiroth and Jenova, taking back the black materia. Only Cloud can see Aerith's spirit staying at the temple. It's unclear whether he realizes she's gone.
Okay. I will get us up to the Aerith dying bit. So getting into the temple and all that, the gameplay of the temple was kind of annoying, but it was cool to play as main character Aerith for a little bit. I
Mhm.
like that she sort of takes initiative. This is also where Cloud takes a full fucking heel turn. Um, he's such under control at this point that he's being a giant asshole to everyone, which
Yep.
is annoying and hard to see. But I mean, that's what's happening. And each one of the characters at this point also has to go through like a little bit of a trial. And the biggest waterworks for me for some reason were in Aerith's trial, where she has to relive the death of her mother. They get off of a train when Aerith is still a little girl, and
Mhm.
she has to. Her mother tells her to go find someone to help, and Aerith tries to go find someone to help her mother, and she can't, and she has to return to her mom, and like she just said, "I tried as hard as I could to find someone to help you. I just don't know what to do." And that's where Aerith's stepmom, Aerith's adoptive mother, can't remember her name right now, but she comes up and she
Mhm.
gets Aerith out of there um, before Shinra forces come and, steal her again. But man, it was just very rough to see like a little Aerith having to grapple with all that. It's always
Yeah.
sad. Kids are always the thing that fuck me up the worst. Like
Yeah,
it's
especially as parents, right?
yeah, it's just very hard to see. And that whoever that actress is just fucking crushed it, because
Yeah, sold it.
I really believed her in that moment. And everyone else, we kind of just dealt with stuff we'd seen. Their trials are just like, it's the hardest part in their lives that we get to revisit, because Sephiroth
He's a mean
subsists
guy.
on misery. Yeah.
He's a mean guy, and you activated his trap card. So what are you gonna do?
Yep. Um, we can sort of beeline it here. I think there's a lot of stuff here at the end of the game, but this is the juice. This is we get to the Forgotten City, and we find Aerith praying, and then the bad shit happens. What were your thoughts here? You obviously knew Aerith was going to die, but walk me through the process of the end of this game.
Oh my god. Can I even? It's bizarre. It's like 3 alternate universes, I think. There's the main universe, there's the Aerith and Cloud in the apocalyptic universe, and there's Zack's universe, where and then I think there are many universes too, but those are the 3 we focus on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Cloud blocks Sephiroth's blow, but it gets corrected to where it hits.
Yeah, so there's like a little visual motif that lets you know that there's a universal split happening, where
Mhm.
there's like rainbow, like a light shaft with rainbows, and that shoots out of the swords when they connect, whenever Cloud blocks Aerith
Mhm.
from getting killed. So it seems like there's some world where Cloud did save her.
Right.
Um,
So
there's
she's alive in another world, right? That is that why she can manifest, or is it because she's Cetra part of the life stream?
so from my best guess, um, Aerith, for a long time now, has had knowledge. In the first game, she had knowledge that she was going to die. She had knowledge that um, of different versions of herself in different timelines. It seems like.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
I
so there
don't
was a
know if
multiverse in the original Final Fantasy VII.
absolutely not.
Hmm.
There was no universe. There was none of that. But our Aerith from remake
Oh, I got you.
might
I get you.
might know of the universe of the original game from start to finish, because Aerith existed in the live stream and obviously in that from the original game. So it's hard to say which version of Aerith that we are dealing with when we're having some of these conversations. But it stands to say that it is reasonable that in some universe, Cloud literally does save Aerith from Sephiroth here. But to just cut to the chase, I think what we're dealing with at the end is that Cloud did not save her. Obviously, to me, it seems very obvious that she is not saved, because of the reaction of the rest of the crew.
Right.
Because they're all devastated, and Cloud is like a fucking ghoul just sitting there like nothing happened.
No, I don't mean in this universe, but I'm asking basically like, is she alive in a different universe, in a different timeline, and that's why she's able to manifest a Cloud?
Maybe
Because Cloud was in those other timelines with her.
Yeah, I don't know that we're looking into a different universe there, or if we're looking at a spirit.
Right. I guess that is the crux of my question.
Yeah, I don't know. That Aerith doesn't seem to be interacting with anyone but Cloud, the one that we're seeing post death.
Right.
Um,
and I'm just wondering if it's because Cloud was the cause of the schism of her dying or not, and therefore she can still talk to him. And she brought him to other universes with her, right? Like they transported themselves through a couple other universes before they got back to this one.
So overall here, we're looking at a multiverse that I'm not sure if I like it. I'll say that there's a multiverse at all. I will say that the death of Aerith in the original game was much more poignant, and there was a lot more. It was a lot. There was a finality there that was strongly felt. And in this one, they kind of rob it from you.
Yeah. Yeah, like you don't see even her getting buried or put in the live stream or whatnot.
Yes. But I think that this is something that they're going to revisit, honestly, in the third game. So, like, I was very upset initially at the way that all of the ending of this was handled. But after a lot of thinking about it and a lot of, like, listening to other people's thoughts and, like, Ultimanias and all that, I am very open now to them resolving this in a way that is as good or maybe even better in the third game. So yeah, I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting on game number 3 to make like the final judgment on it, and I do fully trust them. I just cool. I'm a little burnt out on multiverses, and I was kind of bummed that they did that with this story. But there's a lot of fertile ground here for them to take some stuff here, and also like darkest timeline situation.
Mm-hmm.
Aerith is kind of weird after her death. The times that you talk to her,
yeah.
And Cloud is an unreliable narrator sometimes with his
yeah.
So there's some room for some wild shit to go down with Aerith. There's literally a space alien demon who could be wearing Aerith's face.
Right.
Named Genova, which is the darkest timeline of the version of the Aerith we're talking to, especially since we see Cloud do some wild shit with sneaking the black materia into the Buster Sword there in the last cutscene.
I've seen a theory that Barrett has the real black materia, that they don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't trust Cloud.
I wouldn't either. And Cloud's like, hey, buddy. Or Barrett's like, hey, man, you good? And Cloud's like, everything's fine. You see that giant crack in the sky? Don't look up. And Barrett looks up. Of course, he's like, now I got to look up, mirroring what they did earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't know. And, Tifa is just like, Tifa's devastated because her best friend just died. And like, she can't even talk to Cloud at the end of this game. Just because like he's being so fucking weird. But yeah, I was very torn by the end, and I was ready for the gut punch of Aerith's death, or the like supreme satisfaction that she got saved, which I don't know if I wanted that, but I was ready for that.
I was ready to be hurt.
Yeah. And I mostly was ready to be hurt because I don't think you can take the death of Aerith away. It's the most iconic death in gaming. In my opinion.
People are on escalators replicating it.
Exactly. So I don't think it's something that you could have just taken away, and they kind of just gave us something that is deliberately unsatisfying. So I think it's something they have to pay off in game 3. But
I
long
also
and short
think
of it,
I think they're going to show more of the death and aftermath in Game 3.
I think so too.
Towards the beginning, or maybe Cloud has some kind of revelation of like what actually happened.
I think they have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't rob this moment the way that they can't leave this moment the way it is. There's
I
too
think
much
we're still in
left.
Darth Cloud mode.
I think so too.
Or perhaps, if you will, going back to Yu-Gi-Oh, we are in the Pharaoh Cloud rather than the regular Yu-Gi-Moto Cloud.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yes, I really think they have a lot to resolve there with that. And the third game is going to be full of all kinds of wild shit. There's still like stuff from the original game. We got Wutai. We have unresolved conflict and issues and stuff from this one. So it's going to be a long couple of years while we wait. But
yeah,
boy, did I love this game. Do
It's
the
good
proto
stuff.
quest.
Yeah.
Do that quest line. What do you, final thoughts on the death of Aerith? How did you feel? You said you're devastated.
I mean, I liked the way they did it only because I didn't have something to compare it to. But then I watched the original scene on YouTube and I went, "Oh, that's better." And that doesn't look as good, and it's better. So I'm just hoping that they sort of patch it up in the next one, and that this was intentional in the way it was dissatisfying.
I think it has to be that because they are not going to fumble the bag on their biggest moment.
Yeah,
it is the most iconic moment in the game, and they can't fumble it without intentionally fumbling it. And I think they did.
Right. All right, Brandon. It's been a great time talking about this whole world with you. I think we're about ready to head out of here.
We're old, so we got to sleep, and we could talk for several more hours about this game. And I think we will eventually. But yeah, send feedback. If you're mad about opinions we have, send it. We'll love to talk about it. Reminder, you can send that at lhp@lorehounds.com. Or the fancy new tools at thelorehounds.com.
They're not that new anymore, but they were when I originally drafted this outline template. Yeah. All right, everyone. Hope you all have a great night. See you in Midgar. Well, Brandon couldn't stay for the show notes, but you've still got me to talk about Patreon and Supercast, the best way to support us. If you want to go support us there and get early and ad-free access to our podcast, show guides, and more, go to the link tree in the show notes and it'll bring you there. You can also get to our Discord server there, find our main feed, find our website, all the fancy stuff. The other thing you can find there are our affiliates, like Rings and Rituals, where Marilyn Arpakila and Dr. Sarah Brown of Signum University are breaking down the Rings of Power on a rewatch through the lens of ritual. They are up to episode 7 coming soon. We also have Woolshift Dust doing Beacon 23, season 2, episodes 7 and 8. That's the finale, I think. And we have the Wolfshift Dust Book Club, which I believe is a Patreon thing, but Alicia's Patreon. Don't expect that on the Lorehounds Patreon. The Silo breakdown with more Silo books. Very exciting. I'm sure that if you are a part of that, you know what she's doing. She's also very busy. She's doing a podcast on the Lorehounds feed with Planet of the Apes. And she's doing a Star Wars canon timeline podcast where we are watching her go through the entire saga era by era. She's currently in the High Republic doing the Young Jedi Adventure Season 1 and a preview of The Acolyte. Very exciting stuff. And don't forget, I'm going to be covering The Acolyte with her over on her feed and this feed. We also have Properly Howard Movie Review with Felonies and Fugazis. This week, they put out Rocky. I believe that's how they're closing out the season. Very exciting season. It's always a great time to listen to Steve and Anthony talk. Super funny. And Radioactive Ramblings is taking an off week, but they should be back soon. All right, on the Lorehounds feed, this week we've got another Doctor Who episode. We've got the last couple episodes of House of the Dragon Season 1 that we're going through. We've got this podcast, The Lorehounds Play, and Planet of the Apes, as I already mentioned. So plenty of content out here. And then we're also going to be recording Elevensies, which is our new way we're covering movies instead of within Second Breakfast. That's going to be Patreon exclusive. and that will be covering Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So if you want to hear that, you'll have to get to the exclusive zone. All right, now is the time that I do all the thank yous. So thank you to our Discord server boosters, Gnarls, Aaron K, Tiller the Thriller, Dork of the Ninjas, Duve71, Captain Gingy, 56, and our lore masters, Samartian, Michael G, Michelle E, David W, Brian P, Nick W, SC, Peter OH, Bettina W, Adam S, Nancy M, Duve71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Eric F, Matthew M, Sarah M, DJ Miwa, Andra B, Kwang Yu, Deadeye Jedi Bob, Nathan T, Alex V, Aaron T, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, Dally V, Mothership 61, Gnarls, and Adrian. Thank you all. Always a pleasure to have you, and it really helps us build more community and do more fun podcasts like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. All right, we'll see you all on the next month of the Lorehounds Play. The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by the Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.
A new Star Wars journey begins in the place all good journeys begin. At, well, the beginning. This Star Wars Day, I'm excited to introduce the new Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast, where we will piece together the complete story of that galaxy far, far away, in timeline order, from the dawn of the Jedi through the great unknown following the sequel trilogy. This is a podcast for both Star Wars superfans and complete newbies. Listen to the short intro episode now to hear how it works and what to expect over the coming weeks as we set the stage for the new television series The Acolyte, which we will be covering with weekly breakdowns. Subscribe to the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast wherever you listen to take part in one of the most epic and expansive stories ever told, following all the twists and turns from start to finish. May the 4th be with you all month and beyond.